Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to check out Dohdles, or as I like to call it, Dohdles! It's a Simpsons reference, for those of you that didn't get that. Anyway, this is a game for 3 to 6 players. It's for ages 10 and up, and the average play time is about 40 minutes. This game is similar to Concept and Pictionary. In Concept, basically you had a board and various pawns, and you were trying to get others to guess the idea. Or the secret word. Well, in this case, players are going to be doing the same thing, except you're going to be conveying your ideas via modeling dough. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the components and see how the game is played. Okay, so apologies in advance. I'm going to be throwing a lot at you, and it may not be organized. So, yeah. We'll start with the game board. Basically, this is your board. There's a lot going on, like I said. You've got a score track here. There are green arrows on it and red arrows on it. Whenever someone guesses what another Dohdle is correctly, they'll get to move forward. The number of green arrows is shown on their current space. If they guess incorrectly, they have to move back the number of red arrows. So you want to try and guess correctly, because if you don't guess correctly, then you have to move back. Otherwise, you get to move forward. So there's that. Players are going to be trying to get their pawns from the start space around the track to the smiley face in order to win. At the beginning of the game, each player has to craft 2 or 3 Dohdles. In a 3-player game, it's 3. In a 4, 5, or 6-player game, it's 2. I have this game set up for 3 players, and yes, there should be 3 Dohdles per player, but it took everything I had just to craft this. I suck at crafting artsy stuff. Like, I am terrible at it. And this was everything I could just to craft this. It took me 20 minutes to just craft, you know, half of these. Anyway, I mean, this is clearly a doomsday machine from Star Trek. This is clearly a seesaw. Yeah, clearly a seesaw. This is... what did I make this? The letter Z, we'll go with that. And this is a cactus. I remember that because it's green. And this is... do they have a tentacle? No. Candy cane, sure, we'll go with candy cane. And then it's either an upside down U or one of those neck pillow things. Anyway, yes, see, as you can see, very, very creative here. But anyway, players at the beginning of the game are going to be crafting so many Dohdles based on how many people are playing the game. And they're going to be writing down what each Dohdle is on the back of one of these little slips, and they're going to put it face down like that underneath the board. There's going to be numbers on the reverse side, and the numbers are important because that ties into your clues. During the game, players are going to be pointing to you, or the active players may be pointing to you, and you're going to be moving your clue token, which is what this is, forward along this tracker here. And based on where the token is, that's the kind of question or kind of clue that you can give. Basically, when you see 2 question marks here, they can ask 2 yes or no questions. If it's on the A, B, C space, they can ask for like one of the first 5 letters. And that's what the numbers 1 through 5 here is. Let's say they may say, okay, what is the second letter of this Dohdle here? And you can say it's an A for cactus. So you would write the letter A on the number 2 space. That way everyone can keep track of what's been asked so far with regards to the letter. And as players point to a particular Dohdle, this clue token is going to go around this track here. And this is important to keep track of because there are little numbers here next to each of these clue spaces, and that ties in with scoring too. Not only does someone get to go forward on the score tracker whenever they guess what your Dohdle is, but the player that created the Dohdle actually gets to move forward to the number of spaces that is listed here. There's a 0, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 0. So basically what that means is if you make your Dohdle very, very easy to figure out and they can get it on the first try, there's a 0 here. So that means that you're not going to get to move forward. If you make it too difficult and this token goes all the way around the track to this space and someone finally guesses what it is, you get 0 points for that. The trick is to try and get someone to guess what it is within like 2 or 3 clues, because that's where you're in the 2-point, 3-point range. So again, not only does the player get to move forward the number of green arrows that's listed on their space, but the player that created the Dohdle can move forward the number of spaces that's listed on their clue track. So there's that. That's what this is. And on, anyone, during anyone's turn, you can throw a cube into this little guess funnel here, and it's supposed to go down the chute. But like I said, I am not very crafty. It took me 20 minutes just to put this damn thing together. Speaking of which, there is a space for it in the box insert. So why it just didn't come pre-assembled is beyond me. But yeah, some assembly required, forewarning. But yeah, that's what this is, a guess funnel. And the order at which these cubes come out, in case, multiple people make a guess at the same time, the order at which they come out is the order at which, players can make their guesses. Unless you're the active player and this clue token is on the very first space, the first player would then, or the active player would then have priority. But after that, anything goes. Whoever's first gets to guess first. And that's basically all there is to it with game setup. I think I covered everything. I was sort of a mismatch of information. Each player also get one of these suggestion boards. There's suggested things that you can craft on the one side and suggested questions that you can ask on the other side. And as far as game setup goes, there you have it. Keep in the back of your mind, though, that in a 3-player game, each player is supposed to craft 3 Dohdles, and as you can see, I only have 2 per player. But normally there would be 3. But for example purposes, this should do. Okay, now in terms of what a player turn may look like, and I did a lot of explaining on this already, but let's just say that blue is the active player here right now. What he's going to do is he's going to point to either green or red, and then let's say he points to this thing over here. Again, I think that was the Doomsday Machine from Star Trek. So what red's going to do is he's going to move his token over to the first clue space with the 2 question marks, and that means that blue gets to ask 2 questions. Blue can ask things like, is this thing from Star Trek? Somehow this guy has ESP. And red can say yes. And then blue can ask a second question. Is it the Enterprise? And then, red can say no. And that's it. And then at this point, because it's on the first, whenever a token is on the first clue space or any space after the starter space, players can actually make guesses on it. So let's say that green just decides, you know what, it's the Doomsday Machine. I know it is, just because I know this player. So he throws his cube in there. It comes out. Now, if blue had done this at the same time, blue, even though greens came out first, blue would actually have priority because he is the active player, and this clue token is on the very first space, like I was explaining earlier. But let's just say that blue didn't guess and green guessed. At this point, green guesses, okay, I think this is the Doomsday Machine from Star Trek. And he flips it over, reveals that it is the Doomsday Machine, and, then green gets to move forward the number of spaces listed here. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So green is now up to there. Now red does not get to move forward because his clue token is on a 0 space. Had he made this a little bit more difficult, which, again, it's not fair that the other players knew what it was, because I'm me, but had he made this a little bit more difficult, he might have gotten like 2 or 3 points. So that would end this player's turn, and then the next player would get to go same thing. Green would point to somebody. Green would point to, say, blue, and point to, what is this, a candy cane? Okay, he points to this thing, and then, so blue then moves the clue token up by 1, and it lands on this 2 question mark space. So now green gets to ask 2 questions about that. And then green might say, are you high? And then blue goes, no. And then green goes, did you watch the game last night? And blue goes, no. These aren't really questions. I'm just giving you examples. So anyway, so that wasn't really helpful, and no one can make a guess. So then play moves on to the next player. And then red gets to go. He points to blue. Now, blue, he wants to do the same thing over here. Let's say he's like, green, why did you ask those questions? Because they were stupid. So he's going to go, I want a shot at it. So now blue moves his token up to this space, the number 1 space, at 1 point. And it's an ABC space. So that means red can go, okay, I want you to give me the letter of the first letter of this doodle. So he goes C for, he doesn't say candy cane, but that's what it is. So C, he would write the letter C here. Everyone would get to see it. And then red thinks to himself, is that going to be enough information for you to make a guess? No. Okay, so then play moves on to the next player. And this continues until one of 2 things happen. If you go to take a turn and everyone else's Dohdle has been solved, then the game ends there. If someone manages to get their token all the way around the board to this smiley face, the game ends and they win. And that's basically all there is to it. there you have it, a very brief look at Dohdles. It's important to stress that I did not cover all of the rules found in the manual. This was just to give you a general overview so that you could see how the game was played. As far as what I thought, it's not a bad game, but it's not one I would play on a regular basis, mainly because I am not very artsy-craftsy. I know, crazy to say that. I mean, I don't know how you could possibly think that I wasn't artsy-craftsy based on these lovely creations here. But one thing I don't understand is that the manual hints for sculpting a Dohdle. And they have like these great looking spiders in here. There's a lot of detail, the Eiffel Tower. How the heck do you do this without some type of modeling tool? Like, the game does not come with like little tools that you can use to sculpt this dough. So if you have like very big hands, good luck. Seriously. So yeah, I don't know how the instruction manual expects you to do some of these things. But anyway, I mean, maybe you guys will have better luck. I don't know. I'm not very good at this stuff. And that leads me to, you know, how would I recommend this game to, you know, players that like Pictionary and Concept. Honestly, I would only recommend this game to players that enjoy modeling things and being artsy-craftsy, really. There are other games out there that are like Pictionary, that are like Concept, that allow you to experience something like this, you know, without the frustration of trying to model dough into whatever form you want it to be. People that are very artsy-craftsy and enjoy working with their hands will enjoy this game more than likely. One thing that they're going to have to get over, though, is the sensory overload when they're looking at the board. When you're looking at the board for the first time, you're going to be like, what the heck is all this stuff? You've got this thing here, you've got a tracker in the middle with green and red arrows on, you've got a clue tracker here, you've got little slips of paper, you've got cubes, you've got a lot of things being thrown at you all at once, and a lot of concepts being thrown at you all at once. But really, the manual is only... This is front page, middle, and back. So it's not a difficult game to learn, but when you're looking at it for the first time, you're going to get a little sensory overload, and you may be a little intimidated by it. So there's a few negatives going into this game from the gate. If you're not artsy-craftsy, and if you're easily intimidated by clutter on a game board, you may decide, you know what, this isn't for me. And, you know, that could be totally okay for you. But my advice is to, you know, if you are artsy-craftsy, to stick it out and to try out the game with someone that knows what they're doing, and hopefully, you know, you'll actually begin to like it that way. It's not a bad game, don't get me wrong. I mean, the game did come with baggies for each of these. So, yeah, you can put orange in here, purple in here, gray in here, baggies for the tokens. I'm a big fan of baggies. But, and the components are fairly good, except, again, this guess funnel. Really, I don't need it. The first player to just yell out Dohdles or something could make the first guess. They don't need to throw a cube into a guess funnel. This is really just here for flair, really, in my opinion. And it was a pain in the butt to put together. Yes, there's a space for it in the box insert, like I was saying. So why they didn't just spring, for a little extra money, just get one that is completely assembled. It doesn't need folded or anything like that. Just, you know, something plastic or something. But no, you have to put this damn thing together. Very inconvenient for people like me who are inept at building things. Don't get me started with IKEA. Anyway, so Dohdles, do I recommend it? It's like 35 bucks or so on Amazon. If you enjoy games like Pictionary and Concept, then I would more than likely recommend this if you don't mind working with your hands. If you have an issue with working with your hands, if modeling dough and trying to be creative through, you know, stuff like this does not appeal to you, there are other games out there that basically do the same thing. Again, Concept, Pictionary, Gestures. So there's a lot of other charade-like kind of games, very visual-based games that you can play besides this and get the same experience. I mean, granted, this is somewhat different. I mean, you got a clue tracker. There are other games like Pictionary out there that don't have a clue tracker and a score tracker like this, but I mean it's the same concept. So Dohdles, I know that wasn't very helpful, But it's not going to appeal to everybody, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If you guys want to check out my full review, you can. www.dadsgamingaddiction.com. If you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you can keep up to date with any new content I'm going to publish. This is Vince. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.